Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to my reading journey. Hope we're all doing absolutely fine. But I'm sick. I'm sick, but it's not the valid reason to interrupt our reading journey. So we're gonna continue with the second part of a Blackjack bargainer. Let's do this. Fortune, passing over many anxious wars, made a freakish flight into Blackjack's bosky pockets to smile upon Pike and his faithful partner. Bosky pockets. One day, a party of spectacled, knickerbockered, knickerbockered, and altogether absurd prospectors invaded the vicinity of Garvey's cabin. Pike lifted his squirrel rifle off the hooks and took a shot at them at long range on the chance of there being revenues. Happily he missed, and the unconscious agents of good luck drew nearer, disclosing their innocence of anything resembling law or justice. Later on, they offered the Garveys an enormous quantity of ready green crisp money for their 30-acre patch of cleared land, mentioning, as an excuse for such a mad action, some irrelevant and inadequate nonsense about a bed of mica underlying the said property. A bed of mica underlying. When the Garveys became possessed of so many dollars that they faltered in computing them, the deficiencies of life on Blackjack began to grow Pike prominent. Pike began to talk of new shoes, a hogshead of tobacco to set in the corner. A new lock of his rifle, and leading Martella to a certain spot on the mountainside, he pointed out to her how a small cannon, doubtless a thing not beyond the scope of their fortune in price, might be planted so as to command and defend this soil accessible trail to the cabin, to the confusion of revenues and meddling strangers forever. But Adam reckoned without his Eve. These things represented to him the applied power of wealth, but Ra slumbered in his dignified cabin an ambition that soared far above his primitive wants. Somewhere in Mrs. Garvey's bosom still survived a spot of femininity unstarved by 20 years of blackjack. For so long a time, the sounds in her ears had been the scaly barks dropping in the woods at noon, and the wolves signing among the rocks at night. And it was enough to have purged her of vanities. She had grown fat and sad and yellow and dull, but when the means came, she felt a recondite desired to assume the perquisites, the perquisites of her sex, to sit at tea tables, to buy inutile, inutile things, to whitewash the hideous veracity of life with a little form and ceremony. So she coldly vetoed Pike's proposed system of fortifications and announced that they would descend upon the world and curate socially. Curate socially. And this, at length, it was decided and the thing done. The village of Laurel was their compromise between Mrs. Garvey's preference for one of the large valley towns and Pike's hankering for primeval solitudes. Laurel yielded a halting round of feeble social distractions, compatible with Martella's ambitions, and was not entirely without recommendation to Pike. Its contiguity to mountains presenting advantages for sudden retreat in case fashionable society should make it advisable. Their descent upon Laurel had been coincident with Yancy Gory's feverish desire to convert property into cash, and they bought the old Gory homestead, paying $4,000 ready money in the spendthrifts shaking hands. Thus it happened that while the disreputable last of the Gorys sprawled in his disreputable office at the end of his row, spurned by the cronies whom he had gorged, strangers dwelled and in the halls of his fathers. A cloud of dust was rolling slowly up the parched street, with something traveling in the midst of it. A little breeze wafted the cloud to one side, and a new, brightly painted carry-all, drawn by a slothful grey horse, became visible. Slothful. The vehicle deflected from the middle of the street as it neared Gory's office and stopped in the gutter directly in front of his door. On the front seat sat a gaunt, a tall man dressed in black broadcloth, with his rigid hands incarcerated in yellow kid clothes. On the back seat was a lady who triumphed over the June heat. Her stout form was armored in a skin-tight silk dress of the description known as changeable, being a gorgeous combination of shifting hues. She sat erect, waving a much ornamented fan, with her eyes fixed stonily, far down the street. However, Martella Garvey's heart might be rejoicing at the pleasures of her new life. Blackjack had done his work with her exterior. He had carved her countenance to the image of emptiness, emptiness, and inanity. Had imbued so many words, so many new words, had imbued her with the solidity of his carcass and the reserve of his hushed interiors. She always seemed to hear whatever her surroundings were. The scully barks falling and pattering down the mountainside. She could always hear the awful silence of Blackjack sounding through the stillest of nights. Alright, guys. This second part was also fulfilled with many unfamiliar words for me, but yeah, let's see what's gonna happen next. It's a long story actually, so let's figure out. Thank you for joining me today, and see you tomorrow on the next part. Thank you. Bye.